My name is Susie Dracier. We're going to start the meeting today. I want to say that we are not going to have public comment today. There will be a part of, at the end of the agenda, there is a public comment, but until that time, we will have no public comment. We've got a big agenda to get through. I would like to acknowledge the minutes of March 6th and 8th.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Sandquist, second by Dimmitt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Meet with the county engineer. For those in the room that don't know, the county engineer is really a pretty nice guy. His name is Dwayne Hines. Thanks for coming today.
Well, thanks for the nice words. I appreciate that.
Hey, I do want to say one thing. If you are on Zoom, please mute your phones. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't bring my phone with me.
Well, you should.
If I had,
You
I'd
should.
be all right, so last week I was not here. I was over at the safety training for in-service bridge inspection, which I managed to get my certificate for. So we're going to explore doing some of our bridge inspections in-house to save county money right now. We've seen Calhoun burns around $40,000 a year for that and other services that they do. And that's when you guys hired me, I told you I didn't know anything about bridges, but I've learned, so I'm working on it, guys.
Thank you very much.
And I heard rumors that you guys did some things with the Glasgow Osage intersection while I was gone.
Yes, we did.
So I went onto the ID's website to pull up the crash data for the last 10 years for you. There were no fatalities at the intersection, but there were a lot of property damage and personal injury accidents.
And you know, Dwayne, prior to that, there have been people killed on that intersection.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and I had a phone call from a resident at that intersection
About the pole?
that he would like me to call him back after he wakes up at 10 a.m. So he's a sheriff, he works in the night.
That person.
It's not like I was when I was 16.
That person was just concerned about the pole and his Access Energy. And Access said that the pole's just fine where it's at. So we don't have to worry about the pole. And I assured him of that the other day.
Okay, so you guys weren't moving the pole?
No.
Okay, well, that's, I don't know.
We
I
talked
don't know
about the double yellow line at 45 mile per hour.
Okay.
The double yellow line would be from Seven Hills to past Hickory Hills.
Okay.
And the flashing yellow light. But we did discuss the pole.
Okay.
We're going to talk to Access Energy, and this
Okay.
homeowner already has.
All right.
So
So when I call them, I have really nothing to talk to them about because you guys have already taken
we
care
can tell
of
them
it.
have a nice day.
All right. All right. Well, I like it when you guys do that for me. You guys pick up the heavy lift and I'll sweep up behind you. Let's see.
Well, in the interest of full disclosure, we did say to him that the engineer said.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thump, thump.
Yeah.
Back wheels of the bus.
That's right.
All right. Our 2023 chip seal program bids next week. Part of that program is 1/10 from Packwood to the railroad tracks. Our local state senator has requested that we apply for a grant to improve that chunk of road above and beyond what we're using on the farm to market funds. I have a call into the DOT to see if we can apply for that grant and get the grant if we can take that stretch of road that we have in that farm to market project and apply that work elsewhere. Because if
Are you talking about Ivy to Packwood Road? Or are you talking Packwood?
Packwood to the railroad tracks.
Okay.
110th.
Mhm.
So that letter is due like tomorrow or the next
It's the
day?
16th.
So
Yeah,
we do have a couple days.
Yeah,
Is anybody talking to him to let him?
I sent him an
Dwayne
email
has
back.
has
but
been conversing with
seen
him.
it.
He's
Animated.
I'm glad that you
he
were,
is very determined in his position and really doesn't pay attention to anything I tell him. So
Almost like being married, isn't it?
No, my wife pays attention.
Yeah,
She doesn't act on paying attention, but she does pay
Did you
attention.
get that in?
So
She
it
does
would,
listen to
it would
us.
be very helpful. I'm glad you're talking to the DOT because they're really the ones that,
Well,
you have a plan. I mean,
yeah, right now, we have it planned just to chip seal it, stabilize it with some more rock and chip seal it,
Mhm,
which for the 100 vehicles a day
mhm,
that the traffic count is, that is more than sufficient.
mhm.
and how many is the other road traffic?
I've already applied for that grant for Lockridge Road, excuse me. Hemlock from Libertyville north to Old 34,
Yeah.
and that's around 1,000, 1,200 vehicles a day.
Oh,
So
and
I would much rather have that grant money for the road that gets more traffic.
so this is the same money that he's also wanting.
Yes, he sent me the email to notifying me. You sent me the email
Yeah.
as soon as you got it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, Hemlock Road is in bad enough shape that we can't afford to do what I would like to do there, but if we can get federal money for it, it sure would be nice.
Well, we are not the experts, you are, so thanks for
And the wheels on the bus.
communicating with our state senator.
We're working on that. I'll try and, I'm sure he's
Yeah,
in committee meetings today, but I'll continue exchanging emails with him, and
Mhm.
hopefully Nikki Stem from Local Systems will get back with me. And if we can take that money and apply it to a different road or a different section of that road,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
it's just we're close enough to bid. I can't really change the plans for what we've got already.
Right.
And and that's really all I've got on that. I haven't heard anything back on that raise grant yet, but I'm sure they've got thousands of those to wait back through since that was a nationwide deal.
So at ISAC last week, Jacob Thorius from Washington County was one of the speakers at the joint engineer supervisor session. And I got a whole list of things I'll just stop by and talk to you about, but the question I asked was, of course, about railroad crossings. And apparently there's some discretionary grant if you have 2 or 3. It's not the grant that you already have, it's another one. If there's like several in a row, maybe we could access it. And I said, yes, there are. So that's all I know on it, but it might be something for us to look into.
Okay, moving along on the agenda. Discuss and consider park and ride locations in the county. I believe you wanted to talk about that, Dwayne.
Actually, I was one that got a call from an individual or individuals that use the hospital right now. And I guess the hospital would prefer that they didn't. And all I told him was that I would ask how that works. If it's state, if it's county.
I honestly don't know, but it would have to be outside of the right of way. We have some areas where we have right of way they could use, but they're probably not as convenient as what they would like. We've got that area over off of Osage, just south of 34, south. Where when they changed the alignment, we still kept that little triangle of ground.
Right.
That would be a perfect place to put a park and ride lot if you guys chose to spend the money on it.
But that would be for probably people headed east, wouldn't it?
Well-
Would it not be? Well,
You
Not really.
can get pretty much anywhere from there. It's a little bit out of the way, but if it's that or nothing, it's not bad.
yeah.
You know, I'll talk to Josh Larrabee and see if he has any idea how much of a need, because you would think he would have an idea.
Yeah. I
Melanie
don't remember
Carlson
where
was trying to
it's
speak. Melanie Carlson.
Do what?
Melanie Carlson has some comments.
Oh. Can you?
Is that okay?
Yes, Melanie. It should be.
Hey, after Dee talks with Josh, let us know. I actually got a call from the DOT about this the other day because they had received some calls as well. And so I would be happy to talk with Dwayne about coordinating some sort of location between the two of us if you guys find out that there is a need. I was scratching my head as far as any city right away. But if there is a need, we'd be happy to work with the county
Yeah.
on coordinating something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you and Melanie are gonna get together to discuss this and let us know, please.
Yeah, the only place I'm aware of
Yeah.
is that.
Yeah, if I think about it, that's really all I can.
And it's not terribly inconvenient. It's not right on probably the route that most people would want, but it's not so far out of the way that it would be burdensome. I would think it'd be a good place to meet your carpool. It's,
Look at out west, they're kind of slightly catty cornered from Whittam Woods as private property, but I don't know that it's used for anything there. It's on the south side of the road. There's an area there years ago, there used to be something there.
Used to be some sort of restaurant or Dairy Queen or something out there
Yeah.
1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
but that is owned by a farmer and I would hate to.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't authorize that. I would
Talk,
just talk to
yeah,
them and see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So I
luck
was
with
gonna
that.
say, Joe.
do you have that gentleman's phone number?
No,
I don't think he gave it to me either.
no, I don't.
Maybe Melanie's was contacted with the same person. I
I
don't know.
know he did reach out to the DOT.
Well,
Yeah.
it's, I told him to call.
Yeah,
Over at District 5, he's been with the DOT for 40-something years. He ought to have any idea of
right.
what if the DOT has any programs to help with that. So we've got the Orange Avenue Bridge has been removed. We've got the low water stream crossing completed. So the
Nice.
farmer has access for their cattle across it. Billy has spoken with the family on the east side of the Palm Avenue Bridge. We were tossing around different options of constructing either a construction runaround or graveling the road for 1.5 miles to allow them access out to the east. They would prefer, obviously, to gravel access because
Yeah.
the mother and daughter have smaller vehicles, and we're afraid that a construction runaround might be unnavigable for small commercial or smaller cars. But we have basically a pretty good idea of what we're gonna do construction on that. I think, folks, that might be all I have on my list. Oh, we're continuing with our brush cutting. We put some flyers out at the next sections that we're gonna be trimming trees, again, to head off any possible complaints about the quality of our tree service, because it's not very attractive, but it is what we do.
So you're letting the homeowners know. I
We're
think
letting
that's
the
great.
homeowners know.
I did get a call from a homeowner out slightly to the northwest. The dog had chewed up your notice. So evidently makes a nice chew toy.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's
Have you talked by any chance to John Dahl?
nothing I'm aware of.
Okay, he called about dust proofing down on South on Highway 1. I can't think of that street now. There's a
Oh,
business across. the-
136.
Yeah.
Or no,
It's just
it's
right south.
it's down where Lily and Lilac or.
Yeah.
It's west off or east off of Highway 1, and there's
Yeah.
a business on the south side of the road.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
236. Yeah,
236.
I spoke with him and told him we did not have money to chip seal his road this year.
Well, he was talking about dust proofing to me.
And that's up to the homeowners. They've been dust
Okay.
proofing that for years.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's,
okay. I just,
yeah, that's it. Everybody else in the county pays for their dust control. Something that we have talked about in-house is because we are going to chip seal Brookville Road from Packwood Road to Brookville or to Abington with some of the leftover material that we won't be using this year. We are going to continue to do butternut with dust control, just so that the kids that are going to school up at Pekin that are coming up from Brookville have a dust-free road, or more or less, more dust-free than just a straight gravel road. And that's, again, just basically a safety feature, and that's 90 vehicles a day, but they're young drivers. So
Sure.
we're trying to do what we can within our budget to improve safety where we can.
Sure. Thank you.
thank you.
I think that's all I got, guys.
Diane Rosenberg is going to update us on the Sierra Club.
Moratorium.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I thought it was a Sierra Club. Anyway, thanks for coming, Diane.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm here to ask you to adopt a resolution in favor of a CAFO moratorium. And I'm asking this because 63% of Iowans want a moratorium on CAFOs. A quarter of the counties around the state have called for a moratorium and changes to the master matrix. I have a map. I sent you a bunch of information over the weekend, but I brought some, oh, I thought I brought my map. I had a map here that shows the different counties. There's 26 of them. There's very strong support in Jefferson County for a CAFO moratorium and a resolution in support of one. Now, I want to state right from the beginning, this is not an anti-farming measure. We're not anti-agriculture. We're very supportive of agriculture. We all need to eat. So I just want to put that on the table. That's not what this is. We strongly support traditional independent farms and strongly support getting more traditional independent farms back on the land. Over the last 50 years, we have lost 92% of our independent hog farmers. And we would like to see that reversed, you know, put more farmers on the land, raising the hogs in smaller amounts rather than in these large CAFOs. And that's because these confinements have problems, you know, and there's support for these because people want to protect the quality of life. We have a very good quality of life in Jefferson County. Most people have a really good quality of life and they want to protect that. They want to protect their health. They want to protect their property values. They want to protect waterways. We've got 751 impaired waterways in the state. And most of the impairment, the DNR attributes to non-point sources, which is agriculture. 7,000 private drinking wells have been polluted over the last 20 years, and only a fraction of the wells are actually tested in the state. The Des Moines Register did a report a few years ago, and they found that 60% of municipal water systems are threatened by high nitrates. And we're very lucky here, you know, that we don't have that issue, but a lot of communities have it and they don't have the funds to build these really expensive denitrification plants to protect their communities. And you know, I've been working in this area for like 16 years. And I work with a lot of communities. I've worked with communities here in Jefferson County with my other job. I work with communities around the state. And I want to take this real seriously. There's a lot of suffering. I have seen a lot of suffering. I've seen people that, you know, previously healthy people develop environmental asthma, MRSA. They've experienced nausea and vomiting just walking outside their home and just breathing in air that with the toxic fumes have just happened to blow their way that day. Depression, you know, a lot of people experience depression. A lot of people have lost their quality of life where they can't open their windows, enjoy their yards. They've lost property values. And there's all sorts of studies. There's like 50 years of peer-reviewed studies that support what a lot of these people are experiencing and more. So the suffering is real and so is the smell. I don't think anybody can deny that, you know, CAFOs have an odor, you know, and that odor is really unpleasant and it can make you nauseous. It's made me nauseous when I've driven by confinements. And there's also a high cost to the county, particularly your county roads. A few years ago, Howard County wrote up this resolution. They didn't pass this one, they passed a different one. But I'm gonna give you each a copy of this. And this is talking about the roads. And I want to read you a part of this. So to quote part of this resolution, our concern is the lack of taxation for the CAFOs. A standard $24.99 head finishing building generates a dismal $157 to our secondary roads fund. We project spending an additional $1,080 to $10,000 to maintain the roads and bridges per the CAFO unit. The county is by law required to maintain the roads and bridges. So if you're spending money to maintain roads, gravel roads that are not really meant for these heavy tractor trailers traveling, a couple of times a week to each CAFO, that's money that could be better spent. You've got tight budgets. You've really are working to balance a lot of things. That's money that could be better spent, for the welfare of this community, of this county, and same for the other states, the counties. So taking all of this into consideration, I'm asking you to adopt a resolution or submit a letter, either one would do the same, calling for a moratorium on new and expanding CAFOs. And there's two ways to do this. One is a moratorium until the master matrix is overhauled and the weaknesses are removed and it's strengthened. Most counties have opted for that route. And the other is to adopt a resolution until there's fewer than 100 impaired waterways in Iowa. And Johnson and Black Hawk County adopted that one. And again, a moratorium is a pause. It's a pause until we can fix some of the problems that we're dealing with confinements, fix the master matrix. And no current CAFOs would be impacted. One of the legislators was concerned about that. And I said, no current CAFOs would be impacted. Business as usual for them. But we just want to stop new and expanding CAFOs until we can get this under control. We've got 13,000 CAFOs and SAFOs in the state. We've got, the last count was about 23.6 million. It varies, 23.6 up to 25 million hogs, tons of chickens and cattle and all of that. So, we've got a lot here. Now, I sent you, I'm going to give you copies of these also. I sent you on Friday these sample resolutions that some of the counties have passed. And you should have had a chance to look at them, but here's our hard copy. And Dee and I have talked in the past about doing this in the form of a letter. And that's what Webster County did. They started the whole ball rolling with a letter back in, I think it was 2016. And their letter is really good. It's in here, and they're calling for a moratorium until there's a CAFO until the master matrix is overhauled. And that, like I said, that would be fabulous. Like I said, there's strong support here in Jefferson County. In fact, as Dee and Lee might remember, back in 2017, I tried to get this put on the agenda for a discussion. And at the time, Dick Reed, who was the chair, wasn't willing to do that for whatever reasons. And we had a whole campaign. You received a lot of letters and emails and postcards, and we collected petition signatures. And we collected 1,153 signatures in Jefferson County calling for a moratorium resolution. There's really strong support here. And I presented, because I couldn't get on the agenda at that time, I presented that petition during the public comments period of a board meeting. It didn't go anywhere. I guess it wasn't the right time to go anywhere for Jefferson County. I'm hoping this is the right time now. And I sent you these on Friday, but here's a hard copy of the petition that I scanned. So I want to give you a hard copy of this as well. I mean, there's a lot of comments in there, a lot of signatures, a lot of support. So I want to leave you with the last things I want to say. So when you look at the whole of this county, according to the 2020 US Census, we've got 15,663 people in the county. According to the 2017 Ag Census, we have 636 farms. Now, I kind of figured if you got 636 farms, an average of maybe a family of 4, roughly. So if you figure that, according to my calculations, about 16% of people in the county are farmers or in the farming community in some way, shape, or form. And, let's even just pop that up to 20 or 25%. That means, 70 to 75, 80% are not. There's 66 known CAFOs, there's more SAFOs, a few more SAFOs, but 66 known CAFOs. 2% of the people in this county are CAFO farmers, 2 to 3%. That means 92% are not. Agriculture, really important in the state. I'm not going to deny that, and we need it. It's Iowa. We need food, but there's ways that we can grow food that benefits not only the farming community, but benefits the communities as a whole, the entire community. So what I would like to do is ask you today to adopt a resolution or a letter in support of a factory farm moratorium. So are there any questions about anything that I've mentioned?
What was the waterway impairment number you gave a little bit ago?
751 as of the 2022 303D list from the EPA.
So that's funny that that's the same number that was in 2017. So not much has changed in 5 years.
It was a little bit more, maybe up to 757 impaired waterways, but some of them were taken off because they had a total maximum daily load plan for those particular waterways. When there's a TMDL plan that's created, those waterways come off the list, but that doesn't mean that the waterways are unpolluted yet. It just means a plan is there. And only half of the waterways in Iowa have been tested. So that's 751 waterways of half of the ones that have been tested. So there's a lot of pollution, there is a lot of water pollution, unfortunately. And we've seen recreationally, we've seen even locally, Lake Darling, was unswimmable for a good part of the summer. All that money went into public and private funds, went into creating a really beautiful place, but it wasn't safe to swim in it. And that's true for a lot of the lakes around the state. A lot of the lakes are quite polluted. And a lot of the drinking water is, has problems. So water is a real problem. It's a real issue. And I've seen numbers where the cost to clean up water is like $4 or $5 billion if we really were to clean it up. It's a huge, huge thing. We don't need to add more to it.
I know a lot of farmers, landowners in this county are enrolled in the riparian buffer program,
Which is great. Yeah.
which does help that, but that really doesn't have anything to do with CAFOs. It was just over the weekend, I discovered there have been no new CAFOs in the last year in this county.
Right. And right.
So it's a baby step, but
But there were about 150 CAFOs in the whole state roughly last year. And that's just because of building costs, and
Yeah.
so that'll change.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an ongoing
Yeah.
request for not just here, but obviously in other locations that it really hasn't grown legs at the legislative level.
No.
And I've said before, and we'll say again, that if any changes are going to come, it has to be up there. And the counties getting involved hasn't made any difference in the changing in the scoring. And I've said all along, and anybody that I've talked to, including our ag partners, that I do believe that there needs to be a change to the master matrix in the context of, from my perspective, if you have 2,500 head of hogs on site, if you got two 1,250 head barns and they're owned by two different people, that the master matrix doesn't apply. I think that needs to be changed. Now, let me qualify that. If the distance from a creek, for example, is important, then it shouldn't matter who owns the CAFO. If the distance from a creek isn't important, then why are we scoring that? In other words, I'm not sure which direction the legislature should go on that. All I'm saying is that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me on the one hand that if Susie Drish goes in and builds a 2,500 head facility, she has to jump through all these hoops. But if Susie and Dee go in and each build a 1,250 head facility, they don't have to jump through those hoops, but it's the same 2,500 head on site. I don't know which is the important way to go. In other words, what I mean is that on one level, it says to me that really the 2,500 head is a magic number. And it's really not all that important in the context of the master matrix and the scoring system. But that again is up to the legislature to make that determination. I will tell you, and I think you know this, and maybe we've had this conversation before. Agriculture in Jefferson County, unlike some of our surrounding counties, is without agriculture, we dry up and blow away. It's plain and simple. And if there's 23 million hogs in Iowa, and I don't dispute that number, that's because people are buying bacon. And I'm not being flippant. What I'm saying is nobody raises 23 million head of hogs unless they're selling them. And the other thing is to keep in mind also that she may have a finisher, and she has feeder pigs. So she raises the feeder pigs, they get to a certain level and they go to her, and that's what a finisher is. So they're not all doing exactly the same thing. Yes, they're all raising pigs. What I'm simply saying is that what I've said all along, we can't do without agriculture. The circumstances surrounding the evolvement of agriculture over the last 50 years has been dictated by a lot of factors that are beyond our control, but they have to do what it takes to survive. And then the other thing is, as I've said before, if there's an appetite at the legislative level to do this, they would have done it. And there's no appetite for it. And part of it, I don't know what the actual dollar figure is now. A few years ago, it used to be an $8 billion industry in Iowa. And the state of Iowa is not going to rock the boat on an $8 billion industry on either side of the aisle, as far as that part of it goes. When the majority was on one side as opposed to the other side, neither majority has ever taken it up. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. I'm not saying that changes might not come to the master matrix, but right now, everything that's on the legislative agenda, for example, for this session, nothing's gone to the floor. These letters and stuff that you presented are back to 2017. I don't think a lot has changed in that regard in the last 5 years, and I don't think it's had any impact.
If I could speak to a couple of your points.
Sure.
So in terms of the appetite at the state legislature, I completely agree. There isn't. But, and I think all the organizations that are advocating for moratorium are looking at this as a long-term process. We're not looking to see that this is going to happen overnight, because obviously it's not. There's a lot of forces in play right now to kind of keep the system the way it is. But it's a slow, growing, toward this goal. And the supervisor, these resolutions, these letters, they are helping to build grassroots support, for a resolution, because you're representing so many people in the county that want, a moratorium, that want a resolution in support of moratorium. You're representing, you're a voice for all of us. And there's a lot of us, especially in Jefferson County, of all the counties that have passed a resolution. Jefferson County is probably one of the strongest, in in their desire for a moratorium and a resolution. So this is a long-term goal, and we have to take it step by step. And these are part of the steps. So I don't get discouraged by that, because I do look at that as being, one step after another. And then speaking to the distance thing that you were just talking about with the water, the way the master matrix is designed right now, a lot of the points are focused on separation distances, from water, but also from people, And when you live near a confinement, you're at risk for, some health impacts, property value impacts. It's not just the water that they affect, it's us. It's all of us. Even the smell, this summer, I live near the library. This summer, or late fall, early fall, when they were spreading manure, I had to close my windows. I have never had to close my windows in Fairfield. I had to close my windows and I had a headache for a day because that smell was so strong. People, that's the hydrogen sulfide. There's like two really important gases that get generated. One is hydrogen sulfide and one is ammonia, among all the other 150 gases and, volatile organic compounds. There's 300 altogether. But hydrogen sulfide and ammonia, those affect the lungs. The hydrogen sulfide affects the central nervous system. That's what causes the nausea and the vomiting. And just by their nature, these confinements have fans that have to blow that air out of the buildings so the animals don't die, people inside don't die, but that air is going into our lungs, and there's particulates that's going into our lungs. So the farther away a CAFO can be, the better, and the less concentrated, the better. So I hear you. Yeah, we do need changes in a lot of ways. At the state legislature, we need more movement at the state legislature, but this is where, as a county board of supervisors, you can help.
Diane, I appreciate you coming today. We needed an update and you've given us one. Thank you so much.
Now, would you adopt a resolution? Would you consider adopting a resolution?
It is not on our agenda to do that. It's not discussing, consider. I'm sorry.
Okay, so maybe I can come back another time and you can add that to the agenda, to have the actual discussion.
I would think it would be better served as a county to have a public hearing in a larger place so more folks can come.
Sure.
And we will discuss that. Because that gives everybody in our county a voice.
Okay, that could be a next step. All right. Well, thank you for letting me come and speak with you about this today. I didn't get the chance 5 years ago, so this means a lot that you are open to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, discuss and consider design proposal from Horizon Architecture for 1900 West Burlington.
It's not in the packet, so I went in the email. I think this is. We got an email from Mike last week.
Yeah, you did.
But this one is dated the 22nd day of February, so is that
Probably would have been one.
before? I think
Yeah. I got that.
it's here, oh wait, here it is. That's what I did, because this is the fee section, and I think that this is what came last week, so if you add all those fees up.
I know he has, I know when we had the conversation, Art and I had a conversation, there's what he termed the design phase. And I used the start date of April 4th, sorry, April 1st, just because.
Sure.
And so the design phase of that out there would be needed approximately May 1st. We're ready to let the bid.
Sure.
And so if we approve this, moving forward, and get it back to him, or give him a thumbs up or
Sure.
whatever, then this design phase will start obviously before April 1st, which is just advantageous
Sure.
for us.
And this is what we talked about at the construction or the meeting this week.
Yeah.
Construction meeting. So yeah, I think this is the current one.
So I would make a motion to approve the design proposal from Horizon Architecture for 1900 West Burlington.
I'll second that. Didn't we
Motion,
do something like that on Wednesday though? That was to move ahead.
no, that was to let him know we were
Okay,
motion by Emmett, second by Sandquist.
You don't remember who it
All
was?
in favor, I don't remember who you are. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that, folks, gives us another step forward for the ambulance. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider resolution in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for
We've
step
got a whole
increase
bunch of numbers on there.
for Gavin Heckathorn, a correctional officer. When was Gavin's start date?
I don't have the actual start. It was 1 year ago. So this is effective April 1st.
Okay.
So it was somewhere around April 1st he was hired. So
Okay.
he's had his 1 year evaluation. He's
Okay.
worked at less pay for a year than any other correctional officer.
Only because he needed to go through this. In other words, he's one of your youngest ones.
He was, yes, he
By
was
his
put on
first time.
probation
Yeah,
for that
okay.
time. And that's the reason for the change. It's all confirmed with the auditor
Sure,
as far as
sure.
numbers.
I would make a motion to accept the resolution for Mr. Heckathorn.
second.
Motion by Drish, second by Sandquist. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Third item on the agenda, discuss and consider resolution of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for step increase for Brian Burnett.
Jeffrey Burnett started October 1st last year. He's had a 6-month review.
So it is a 6 month. I was gonna
It
ask.
was
you
a
that.
6 months. This isn't a year. He'll have another year of one at October 1.
Okay,
So this is a little different. We do things a little different with the deputies.
for the
versus
deputies, then you have a
correctional.
6 month and a yearly.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, where they start considerably lower than a regular
Is that guy
deputy.
asleep?
I think we're froze.
I think it's frozen.
I think he looks asleep.
Yeah.
There, you only signed us, Susie.
Oh, looks like a deputy. Did we have a motion?
No, we need a motion.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Dimmitt, second by Sandquist to give Brian Burnett his step increase effective April 1st. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. Discuss and consider resolution in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for a step increase for Tyler Rysdom. I believe his start date was a year ago. Well,
Deputy
April 1st,
Rysdom starts April 1st,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So this is his 1 year
yeah.
review.
I make a motion, we approve this for Deputy Rysdom.
Second.
Motion by Drish, second by Sandquist. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. We're gonna give Susie a time to catch up here on signatures.
I don't have any more.
Do you have any more people working out there?
I think there's.
Mark, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. You wonder why we can't plant, I wonder why we can't plant trees to make it for all this paper stuff.
Yeah, plant trees every year.
We got this from Hobby Lobby. This is artificial.
Really?
It's artificial trees.
She needs another one for
We
Gavin.
need another one
Is
for
that this
Gavin.
one? I don't know what that one is.
You know, while we're on a break here, tomorrow is Pi Day.
Is what?
Pi,
Oh.
3.1.
You're
1-4.
distracting him.
I thought you said.
It is also Albert Einstein's birthday, so that proves this the universe has a sense of humor.
Okay. What let this woman know that she's not leaving.
Nice.
I am.
Discuss and consider resolution for compensation board recommendations. In our effort to get a lot done, we forgot to do a resolution when we took our, for ourselves, when we took our salary down to a 0% increase. And so we just,
Should we do this or wait till we get our final budget number? Because I know our valuations were decreased and we haven't been given.
we aren't gonna go less than a 0.
Oh, no, us, but I mean the resolution in general is my question.
You know, I think we're under the gun to get some stuff done.
I realize
We've
that,
got
but we're
to
having a
publish
budget
it
meeting today and hopefully we'll have the answers to some of those questions.
Dee, what do you think? Lee, I mean, do you want to wait?
We already passed this. This is just, we didn't have the paper, and the new numbers will be reflected. These are just for the elected officials,
Sure.
their immediate deputies, and the 4,000 flat rate. So I would make a motion to approve this resolution as presented to correct the omission.
So the resolution is being done to fix the correction. Is that correct?
Yes.
I second that motion. All in favor, or see. Motion by Dimmitt, second by Drish. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I don't know how many copies you
I'm
need.
still deciding how I want to vote, because I
Okay.
still think we need the final numbers before we vote on it. Because that would affect everything else, unless we can go back and change it. We don't have the latest numbers.
Dee, if we've already done the paper saying, no, we just needed a resolution, I'm not,
Well, the numbers that
On
the numbers that
valuations.
Shannon provided as far as taxable valuations hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Presumably because valuations were up. It was at 987 million after, that's the latest numbers that she gave us. And so, and the
I thought she
10,
said it went down like 1.7%.
why don't we get Shannon in here instead of sitting here arguing about it?
all right. And then the other
Shannon,
thing
thank
is that
Thank you.
everybody plugged in 10% of budgets. And then when we went to
And that came
4,000, that's right, right.
Right.
And in the meantime, while we're waiting for the young lady
Okay, we're gonna take a pause.
for the cause.
Yeah. Quiet weekend in Jefferson County?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I suppose we can talk about you for a second. Congratulations on getting your grant. It will improve the park, and it's gonna benefit the whole community. It will.
So I went on the Iowa Economic Development website and sent them out.
Well, anyway, we have questions.
Yeah,
We always have questions.
okay.
The resolution where we approve us making no money, no increase.
Yes.
If we vote on that today, can we still alter the figures as far as the compensation board's request for the other ways?
I mean, you can do the resolution again.
Okay.
You've already done it once before.
I know that.
So this is already your second time.
Right.
I know that.
Okay.
And we do have to get these decisions.
I
made.
know
We know
that.
that.
We have to get this budget done.
Thank you. So, I think Dee was concerned that we might want to go back and revisit the
Yeah.
raises.
Because we didn't know what the overall valuations and everything hasn't put together yet. We're just still at the max.
Yeah. But we kind of need to know those numbers so we can put it all together.
Okay, so we could still, if we wanted to change it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, so,
So I will vote aye, so we can
okay,
have an answer to our question. She two already voted.
and you got that, Abby, right? Right.
Do you need her to send this copy or a retyped copy?
You're on the back. So everybody needs to sign.
Call anyone lock and change the lock so we can't get back in.
Oh,
Oh, that's here it is.
Back. All right, there you go.
Abby for Shannon was just in here, so thank you.
We got our question answered. We're ready.
Oh, my goodness.
No.
Okay, Lee,
Yes, what?
we have discovered that we can go back and change those recommendations if we want to, but we can go ahead and pass the resolution.
Right,
Okay,
so my motion stands.
yeah, and we.
We're done.
What am I doing here? Oh,
You're
these
signing.
are extra pages? Okay. There was nothing else on there, I wasn't,
So
my pen is running out of ink, so we better hurry up.
the next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider department heads turning in final budget Tuesday to auditor's office. It will be their last chance. You guys have any comments?
Well, we just, if there's any department heads, we have a number of them, but there's a few that we do not have. And absent their submission of budgets, we just will take the 4% off their bottom line. You know, and then they can ultimately, in the end, would just figure out where they're going to use it or not use it or whatever, which is what we're asking them to do anyway.
Sure.
But we have to make a decision tomorrow morning, or
Yeah.
tomorrow,
Mhm.
because it has to be published on Thursday.
Yeah. And Lee, I would say that's the 4% of the money we give the
Right.
department heads, not what they might get from federal funds or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
And road department is an excellent example. of that.
Yeah.
And then many of them, like Bart, have already made those cuts and their budget's been submitted. And so,
Mhm. Sure, I don't think he's one of the ones we're worried about. Yeah,
I worry about Bart all the time.
well, so do I, but I'm just saying in this instance, I think he's okay.
Okay,
He's had to revise this 2 or 3 times. this
Not that
year.
we're talking about you right here.
Thank
in front of you. Okay, I make a motion that we do that, take the 4%, whether they have this in or not.
second,
Motion by Drish, second by Dimmitt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you. Next item is to discuss and consider final changes to the employee handbook. In your package, you'll see a thing from the HR, Mr. Jack Reed, that first item on this, the handbook. Do you guys want to do this individually, look at it all?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay. First item is determine that the proper description of a part-time employee should be and whether or not it should line up with the ACA hours 30 for the purpose of health insurance. Discussion.
well, aren't we obligated to go by
The federal
the
guidelines.
Affordable Care Act hours?
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay, so that would be,
That's okay then.
Yeah,
Okay. Number 2, determine if meal allowance should be a daily per diem versus a set amount per meal.
I had several conversations last week. Every
And this is
county
a
does
nurse,
this
she's got
different.
her own set of-
And I think we ought to just go to a per diem.
Mhm.
And whatever we have it now, just make that a per diem, because people are pretty responsible to do that. It's, county employees don't travel that much.
I can,
And the meals have gone up.
oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I will speak for myself, and I had this conversation with Susie. When I would go to Des Moines, for example, whether it's ISAC or other meetings, I venture outside the hotel. I just don't, for several reasons. One, I get lost very easily in Des Moines. I don't like driving in Des Moines. And other ways. The only other way you can go is the skywalk, and I can even get lost on the skywalk.
So go on.
So I don't venture outside the hotel. Usually the hotel we stay at will have a breakfast, what do you call it, continental breakfast or whatever. But if you've ever had to eat in one of those hotel dining areas, they're very good, but they're very expensive. And so I think the per diem, I agree with you, Dee, rather than labeling so much for breakfast, so much for lunches, and a lot of times in our meetings, lunch is provided. So I think if it's a per diem, then if you eat at the hotel like I do, the per diem will cover your supper.
Yeah.
Not that it's a big deal one way or the other.
But otherwise it won't.
Right, I just think the per diem is the way to go.
And and so the dollar amount is what?
I was
I
trying
don't
to
know.
look it up.
300.
You're funny. I think, isn't it 10,
It's
12, and
$2.99.
$2.99.
I
17?
would ask that you increase it at least by $5 as the day, $5 to $10 for the day per diem, because I don't go to the same meetings you guys go to. A lot of our meetings don't have lunch. Preparedness, you don't get lunch. Lunch is always on your own.
So we gotta be prepared.
I mean, yeah, we usually take stuff, but what I'm saying is not every meeting that we go to. And that's, I'm just bringing.
I don't honestly know what means.
So I think Indian Hills has it we used to have it like $40.
Yeah.
But it's been a while.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure we need to do that. What I found interesting,
What,
I talked to like 3 or 4 different counties and everybody does it completely different.
okay, how should Jefferson County?
I
do?
think we just take whatever we're doing now and total it. I'm trying to find out what that is.
99, 399, and 499.
Yeah,
You're gonna get glasses.
whatever, here we go.
So even if they provide a
Page
continental,
24.
But summertime you can get flavored water.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes those continental breakfasts don't work too well, especially if you're doing 3.
Well, a lot of hotels don't offer continental breakfast anymore either.
Oh,
Okay,
it's
folks.
10, 15, and 20.
10, 15 is 25 and 20
So
is 50.
45.
Yeah,
Yep. So let's just do a 45 per diem.
because I agree with you, Dee. Early,
Wait a
High
minute.
school
But if you have to eat
meetings,
3
you
meals
have-
out,
40,
if
yeah.
you have to eat 3 meals out, $45 isn't gonna cover it, I don't think, honestly.
yeah, but usually that's not the case, but Anyway, so we go to 45?
Is that the magic number?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Did you make a motion there?
I can.
well, I think, why don't we wait and making the motion on the entire thing?
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Third item is, there were pros and cons discussed about allowing solicitation for personal reasons on county property. And folks, all I think they're talking about is Girl Scout cookies. Or the fruit sales that the kids do. But I think when we talked, we kind of thought maybe it should be up to like they're coming, want to do that, just tell the supervisor they're there.
Yeah, I don't know. My concern is when Abby comes in and like you say, and her kids are doing fundraisers for whatever.
Sure.
And we want to participate in the fundraisers.
Oh, you're sitting over there.
I have that effect, I'm sorry.
I know.
You know, well, oh, goodness gracious. I don't know if we restrict it to employees as opposed to outside entities. Because we really haven't had a problem in the past, I
No,
guess.
no.
I don't know if we just, I agree with you, Susie. I think that, where is it? Solicitation for personal reasons.
That's a pretty vague comment.
Yeah. I don't know. We haven't really had any problems in the past.
No.
I guess we sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Item 4, the draft has the concurrent HB language and suggested that language from an INCS model. This section may need some further discussion or fine tuning.
Well, that would be great if I knew what the heck they were talking about here.
You know what? Let's find out. So we need the draft from his.
Section 3.6. Okay.
Sean's gonna be busy.
Yeah. That'll be done by next Friday. Okay. Quiet weekend. All right.
I asked him the same thing. He was non-committal.
Yeah, just like now.
Everybody's safe.
Oh,
Oh,
that's good.
good.
I'll say ambulance calls.
I'm not sure. Saw airfare going over last night. They go right over the top of me.
No transfers back over, no.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal was. It was dark.
I'm still looking for his draft.
You know, I suppose if we don't know, we could come back to that,
Yeah,
Jack, call and
that's
come
a
back to
good
that, because
idea.
this is not something we have to do right now. So do you mind if I move on?
But it's fine.
Lee? Come back to us. We're gonna skip down to 5 and check on 4. Credit card use. It's unclear based on the discussion what exactly this policy should say. It was recommended that paragraph 1 and 5 be deleted.
I have concerns with. I know that there's talk about, you know, when we're out on the road as far as gas and stuff. I just think it's, you know, a lot of credit cards out there. I just think it's simpler just that they bring back a receipt and they get reimbursed for their expenditures.
Because this,
I worry about credit cards being out there.
Yeah.
Mhm. You know, especially since both of us have had, in the past month, have had $1,000 worth of charges that weren't ours. On our
And
credit
that's
cards.
not a reflection upon anybody in the county, it's just a simple, everything is. You know, we had a big discussion here last week or the week before regarding cybersecurity and
Mhm.
this is just another potential hiccup. So I would recommend no credit card use, that they just submit their receipts for reimbursement on a claim form.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Sure.
So are you talking, because we use a credit card at the office at the health department to order things. Because we don't have like a PO system, and some things you cannot get invoiced for, you have to
Mhm.
order them with a credit card.
Chris, how secure do you feel your system is? Have you ever had issues?
No,
Is
we
it more
haven't, we got a new
convenient?
credit card too, we got a new credit card because we were having a late fee issue because it was a perpetual issue, but anyway, long story short, we've never had any issues. And we have a purchase policy in our department that the Board of Health signs off on, so it's not like I'm gonna go spend,
Mhm.
you know, my limit on my credit card for something.
So I would think this
I mean, you have
decision, yeah, this decision we make today, since you have your own board,
Yeah, but we follow that handbook,
yeah,
the
okay.
board adopts that
Okay.
handbook.
So.
I'm just clarifying because
Right.
it makes it difficult to do
So I want to
business.
clarify, your credit card's not used outside your office, though, is it?
It is when we travel, like when I get a hotel, for work. Yeah, it reserves.
Because see, I always, when I travel for the county, I always put mine on my own card and then bring it back.
I used to do that, but you know, I feel that it's not, if it's for work, which I'm traveling for work, I feel that work should pay for that upfront. It's not my responsibility to get charged interest if something crosses in the mail. You know what I mean?
No, I do, but
So-
I can't see where we can have 15 different credit cards out there.
No, I have one. I mean,
No, but I mean, each department had their,
yeah.
I just see it as problematic.
Has it been an issue? I guess is my question. Have
No,
you had-
because we haven't got,
Well, some departments do.
There's a few departments and they need them. I know to register for conferences, you need
Yeah.
things like that and the department heads, but as far as employees,
Yeah,
they're not
nobody
gonna
uses
travel that
When I
much.
register for conference, I use my credit card
Right, but
or my debit card or whatever.
But when I'm paying $250 to go to a conference and then I got another $250 or $300 in hotel fees, I don't feel that that's my responsibility as a department manager to put that on my own credit card. I'm just making that statement.
Sure. You know, this is the stuff we talked about during the
It
meeting
is.
with Jack, the department
It
head
is.
meeting. I think you brought up the same stuff.
I just,
Thank you, Chris, for that. Let's move on to item 6. Some of the stuff we're gonna have to revisit.
I just asked him to send us all the latest
Mhm.
version, so we're all covered,
Sure,
because I looked through and I couldn't find it.
sure. 6. Attire and grooming. The recommendation was to delete this section because different departments have different requirements and this language is too subjective. And I agree with that.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
And folks, I just figured HB,
Yeah.
that's your handbook. We figured out one of the acronyms.
Well, yeah,
We're quick.
absolutely.
Okay. Section 7, or excuse me, item 7.
You know what BS stands for too.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Okay.
Wait, maybe we should discuss the customer. No, we won't.
What?
Hey, work from home paragraph. Going to rewrite this section to state that employees cannot work from home without department head approval. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Number 8, exit interview. Our HR talked to us about maybe there are some extenuating circumstances that we should consider before requesting an exit interview, and it includes legal risks. The attendees decided it was best to delete this section. And I think that meant the attendees, the department heads we talked about.
Right.
Okay, so is it okay to delete that section?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. 9, inclement weather. It was decided to delete this section. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
If we delete this, there's no more winter. I'm all for that one.
we need to sign you up for some kind of, I'll find the word later.
Bozo.
Be nice, Joe. Number 10, work-related injuries. Going to add the county's medical provider. Discussion was about whether to allow 24 hours or the alternative is to require employees to report ASAP. I personally think if you're hurt on the job, you better report it right away. Don't wait 24 hours. There's too much that could happen in between them. What do you guys think? ASAP? You give us that, Lee?
Well, yeah, as soon as possible, it could be 24 hours.
Or I would say ASAP, I don't know, help,
As soon as
From a safety
possible.
committee, it needs to be reported immediately to the supervisor.
I like immediately.
Well, that's,
Let's
as
put
soon as
immediately.
possible. That's what
Well,
ASP
not
stands for.
necessarily, because if your supervisor's out that day and you got hurt, you still need to contact the
Yeah.
supervisor or his or her designee.
Can we change ASAP to immediately?
You don't have a choice. It's a
Is that
different-
okay?
And I would say include or.
Immediately is clear.
Yeah, in that, I'm just asking for clarification because we're working on the safety handbook, which is separate from this handbook.
Yeah.
Do you need to reference it that the employee needs to notify company nurse, or do you want to outline that process in this handbook, or I'm just asking the question?
It should be here too. And
Just
notify
asking a
company
question.
owners.
What is your opinion, Chris?
Well, that's really what we're supposed to do, is notify your supervisor. and
So
notify
then your
company nurse
opinion
for
is
first
we should
report
have
of
company nurse in there too?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I have a question, and maybe this is
Oh,
one for
gosh.
okay, here we go.
Well, maybe this is one for Chauncey, but I'm concerned, is there a penalty for not reporting it? In other words, if an employee is not able to report immediately to the supervisor for any number of potential reasons, like they're laying on
Like
the
we
side
won't
of the
take a
road.
call.
Huh? Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that Is there a penalty associated with this?
I think that's why you notify your supervisor or the designee, and then you call company nurse immediately, because that's the first true report of a mechanism of injury.
And is that the way we're gonna do it in the employee, in the safety manual? Yes,
Yeah,
it
we're
is. So
not
we
done
should
with
be concurrent with
Yeah.
that.
We need to be consistent.
Yeah, we're not quite done with that, but we're working on
Okay.
it. We have a few things we need to finish. I was just asking for the good of the order, because that's truly the process.
Sure,
I guess, let me clarify.
sure.
If I've got a maintainer operator that's out there and something happens, either he gets hit or, I don't know, slides off the road, I don't know what it is, and he's not capable of immediately reporting, or she, as the case may be, is there going to be a penalty associated with that on the employee? Like
No.
inability to get workman's comp? or-
If they're in a zone where their cell phone doesn't work, no, there's not gonna be.
No, or if the individual's taken, like you referenced, taken by ambulance, I mean, if it's life threatening or, potentially life threatening, no, then that
Okay.
obviously takes
That's
priority.
all.
Yeah.
I would say within reason. Okay,
Yeah, because you get it in black and white, and there's no
Yeah.
wiggle room in black and white.
Right,
That's all. I don't disagree with the language. I just wanted to make sure that there was a caveat.
so the recommendation is the HR Jack. The bottom line, upon the board's decision about the items above, we will create a new draft for us to review yet again. So we've run over this, and we're gonna have Jack fix what we've changed so we can then go over it again. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that needs voted on, Abby. Okay.
How do you go?
I know. What can I say? So the next item on the agenda is, it says discuss a 28E
Yeah,
with
that's,
workforce development.
that's mine.
And I
and-
think that's what they're, oh, you go ahead. Dee.
Yeah, so at the ISAC conference last week, turns out there's several areas in workforce that are getting out of their 2080s because they don't feel workforce is currently serving their areas. And so the timeline is too short to act on it this year. I just wanted to get it on our radar to see if that's something we want to consider, because it has to be done by the end of March.
Yeah.
We have so much else going on. I
Yeah,
just don't think
yeah.
the time's right.
So what I know about this is the 2080 is an agreement between the counties. It's not just our county.
Correct.
It's like a bunch of county, maybe contiguous with what we used to call Region 15, which is where we had resided. Maybe they changed it. Anyway, it outlines the responsibilities of 2080 for the subrecipient, and I believe the subrecipient is going to be Pathfinders in this case. So I really don't think we could do a 2080 until we talk to the other counties involved.
Correct.
Then we can do one.
Yeah, it was just to have some discussion about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
And as far as workforce doing anything, I might agree with that.
well, my question to this, and a lot of them are in northern and northwest Iowa, was, so how do you know your people are gonna get service? And pretty much it is the state does everything now anyway, pretty much on it, so,
I guess you could say that.
yeah.
Um,
Another area where
I
they've
know
gotten rid
in
of the
our
local.
area, the big push is going to be for maybe some sort of a internship or apprenticeship,
Yeah.
which we tried 6 years ago and it didn't work. So we'll see if it works this time.
So anyway,
I believe in 15 counties or 10 counties contiguous to the Indian Hills, we wrote this many. Just saying, maybe the times have changed. Anyway, we discussed it. We're moving on. Discuss the ambulance director hiring process. As you know, we're working toward having an ambulance by, at the very latest, October 1st of this year. The first step is, of course, there's a lot of little first steps, but the big first step as far as us is hiring the ambulance director.
right, and there's been a lot of different conversations, but I guess it'd be helpful if we all understand. We haven't really talked about the process, because usually anybody that the board is responsible to us, like the engineer when we hired Dave, The supervisors, we got the applications, we hired them. We have an advisory board, which is doing excellent work. And we need to consider their input, but at the end of the day, we're gonna be the entity.
Correct. At
hiring.
the end of the day, the three of us will decide who gets that job.
But
Right now, we're in a process of, we've got a hiring committee that we set, what, Lee, 10 days ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Of
Which
which are,
you're a member of that.
yeah,
however, it seems like we ought to be getting involved in that sooner than later too, because
right now, Dee,
we're the elected officials.
I know we are the elected officials, but right now, that committee is comprised of 4 folks out of the 5. I counted me as 5 that actually know a whole lot more about ambulance and EMTs and paramedics than we did. Similar to when you had the 2 county engineers come in from other counties to sit when we went through the hiring process with Dwayne.
So does that look like, are they gonna screen the applicants and then we do the final interviews?
We have
How-
had
how-
7 applicants and the screening process has started. Chris, do you want to fill in anything here? Yeah, we're going to ask you to talk. I can't believe we're
I
doing that.
know,
We're gonna-
right? I get a minute,
We
right?
have to ask her to talk
So-
about
Well, I
that
know.
first.
I know.
So, thanks, Lee. Okay, so yes, we have met, Susie had, she's the contact, the point of contact for the Board of Supervisors for individuals to send resumes.
Mhm.
So she has given those to me, they're printed off, they are kept in the health department, the file cabinet for confidentiality reasons. So we have met and we've had initial screening of the applicants and we have, I think there's 3, 4 maybe, that we want to reach out to and do an interview and then make a recommendation to the supervisors.
So I had somebody contact me late last week that is considering applying. So, and they're concerned that their current employer would find out about it. And I know, and I said, this is a public,
When you apply for a job, you know that that's a risk. It doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
job is.
And
So
that's
we
pretty
can't
much what I
confirm or
told
deny.
them.
Which is why the
Yeah.
secrecy and those
Yeah.
aren't even here.
Yeah,
If I print something out, it's either shredded because we can't risk somebody's job.
right. But at the same time, you know, it is sometimes appropriate to reach out to a current employer. So employees, potential people need to understand that there's always a risk that your current employer is going to find out.
You know, I suppose,
I
Chris,
mean-
if they would have said, do not contact my
Right.
president, then we would be obligated not to do that.
Right, but that hasn't been
Right.
the
Right.
case. So
I-
we haven't, we're not to that point yet to do interviews. We're in that process of trying to set some things
so
up.
is this board gonna do the interviews?
No, that's,
Not the initial interview. We're gonna have 2 sets of interviews.
that's not my
Well,
understanding.
and I think we should involve Chauncey, because I talked to him about this, just to get his input on it.
And how so? I'm very confused.
Was he involved in hiring the engineer?
From the process standpoint,
He was been
Everybody's,
present, and
so-
every time we decided what we were doing on the process, he was here.
mhm.
You
I
know,
guess I'm trying to figure out what the concern is. You know, everybody involved in the process is in a position to hire someone.
I just don't want it to be so that, like when Bart hires somebody, the normal process is, we get it, he's already done everything, it's kind of a rubber stamp.
Mhm.
I don't want it to be that case. We are the people that if that person, if there's an employment issue, we're gonna be stuck dealing with it. So,
you know, in
I guess
Bart-
we should
in
have-
I
Bart's
guess at
case,
some
you
point.
go
we
through a
need-
civil service thing. Your civil service board looks at your applications.
Correct.
Right,
With anybody hired as a deputy.
Okay.
right.
So it's not just Bart saying, I'm gonna hire this person. There's,
Right.
he has a,
Well, or
civil
any other
service board
department,
that
yeah,
does that.
but it just seems like we need involved. I think it's great you guys do screening, but we need involved.
Then I don't see the need to do that. The hiring committee, then we need to reevaluate that and then send it back to the supervisors. Every step that we take forward, there's 2 or 3 steps back. This really should have been discussed when you guys decided to appoint the hiring committee. That's totally fine.
Well, we haven't officially appointed a hiring.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have.
you did, Dee.
You were on a Zoom.
You
You
were on
were in
Zoom.
California.
Yeah, you're on Zoom. So this part of this process should have been identified at that point. So the hiring committee can step back. We'll give you guys the
No, that's fine.
The
I just-
process, no, because what I don't want to have happen is to get into a situation, we cannot mess this up.
No.
This is
I know
very, very important.
And that's why I wanted to clarify, at what point will we be brought in on? Is it gonna be like, here's one candidate, or here's two or three?
I would suppose, speaking for the committee, you would be brought the finalists and listen to their opinion, because
I think that.
we have
yes.
3 folks, well, maybe 4 on that committee, if I count the 4th one,
Mhm.
that are very in tune with what HIPAA and confidentiality means.
Especially in the medical world.
Yeah, especially
Mhm.
that, which is what we're hiring for.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you can have it look however you want. If you want us to bring 2 candidates forward, if you want us to bring 3 candidates forward, that's fine. But that's something that the 3 of you have to decide, and we have to know that as a subcommittee.
Right, and that's
So
just why the
that's-
purpose for this discussion, so we have that discussion, because we haven't had the,
Well, I
At
think
what point
we, you know,
do we
we've
get-
met a few times and are trying to figure things out, but like I just said, we as
Yeah.
a workforce or task force, whatever you
Yeah.
want, verbiage you want to put on us, we try to make decisions and move things forward, and
Yeah.
then
You know,
the time's
and I'm
ticking.
not
I
trying to
think if
change
we
that,
look at
Chris.
if we look at of the situation, we are in a very positive point with this committee. This discussion has been had about, we are getting some really good applicants.
Mhm.
It is amazing to me, because with the current workforce environment around here, you don't get that good of a people. And I guess the consensus indicated that maybe it was because we're going to a county run ambulance instead of a private run ambulance, because the track record is so much better.
So what, we as a subcommittee then need to know what you guys want.
I don't see any need to change. the
I don't see any need
process
to
at
change
this
it either.
point.
Okay,
You know, Susie's on and we designated Susie, A, because she's the chair, B, because she has experience in this world. And with Chris and Stacy and Shelley and Brett, not only their expertise in hiring, but in the medical world as well.
Mhm.
When they bring a recommendation, at least to me, speaking for me, when they bring a recommendation, I am going to assume that they've been properly vetted under the circumstances of which they're going to be working, and that information that's being given to me. Now, I don't know, maybe it'll be 2, maybe you all come up with, and you get it together and you go, hey, you know what?
That'd be nice, wouldn't
Well, yeah.
it?
You know, and so you end up with potentially 2, and then we collectively, hopefully with you guys participating, have the discussion and meet
Yeah,
the individual or individuals that you move to the next
yeah.
level.
You know, I do want to say, Dee, it's not like this committee is taking a dartboard and throwing a dart to see.
I
who's
know
going
that, I
higher.
know that, but I just,
Stacy, can I help you?
we hadn't had the conversation about at what point are we going to get involved? That's all I wanted to clarify.
Okay,
that.
Stacy?
I just want to make sure that we know that, I mean, originally when we went forward with this document of, the job description, the hope was to have someone hired by April 1st. And that was, a very short turnaround time. We're very lucky in, I think, probably the applicants that we've reviewed so far. But doing more steps in the process, I'm not the hiring person, but if we make this a 3 or 4 step process, you're just putting that much farther out before this director can start, whoever that will be after the interviews. And however you guys want it to look can be that way. But just knowing that we have a very tight time frame that we're trying to accomplish so that we can move all of the other steps forward so that that director can get in position and get things going by our target date. So just to be mindful of those things as well.
And thank you for all the excellent work you've done. That your group has done a great job. So yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to have the conversation because we hadn't had it
Right.
here.
So you guys are the go-to people.
I would ask maybe if you come up with 2 that are very close, that you get us involved. that may not happen.
Okay, so then I need further clarity.
No, I don't think you can put a number on that, D. It might be one, might be three.
Right, you're right. Well, let's go back to when we did the engineer. We did 2 interviews. I'm not saying that needs to happen, but we learned a lot in the second one that we didn't in the first one.
So my question to you, I clarification, and Stacy's on, I don't know if Fred's on or not, but so let's say we interview someone and interview more than someone, and we have concurrence and we want to bring this individual forward. So do you then, as a board of supervisors, want to do an actual interview before you act on the recommendation? That's what I need to know. Or when I say
I
I.
remember, yeah, I'm sorry, Chris, I keep interrupting.
No,
I
you're
don't mean to
fine,
do
you're
that.
fine.
I keep thinking we did an interview at the Roads Department building. And then we had lunch with them. Is that correct? More of a social. And then there was a vote. So.
So I think that's just a.
And I guess I
clarification.
do that up to the committee that's hiring or selecting a candidate, because let me put it this way, if everybody feels like this is the right person, great. But if you guys are pretty split, then maybe you need some more opinions. And I'm guessing that won't happen, but I'm just saying that could.
Listening to the 4 of them talk, I don't think there's going to be a disagreement.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, obviously, there can always be hiccups in any process.
Right.
But we went this direction for a specific reason.
Yeah.
And part of that reason was, again, speaking for myself, I can look at somebody and, and have a great interaction, but I don't know what they know, and I wouldn't understand necessarily what they do anyway. And that's why I'm very comfortable with Chris and with Stacy and with Shelley and Brett. And I firmly believe that Susie will, or if Dee was on there, whatever, that when all is said and done, she's got the best interest of the residents of Jefferson County at heart, as do the others. And I'm going to trust their judgment when it comes before us. That's just my take. And I think that the process we have in place is the process we stay with, and eventually we will see the fruit of the labors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I do, so to go back to one of these questions or statements or concerns, do you want to add Chauncey to this
No.
list? Okay, I'm just asking for clarification. And then I'm gonna go back one more time and ask for clarification. So we, as a committee, then will bring the recommendation to the board.
Correct.
And then you will,
I think they're saying they'd like to meet him, maybe have him or her and have lunch or
okay,
something, just meet them.
okay.
Because-
That's, it's like a second interview. That's really what it is.
Yeah, it's
So
not
you
really
got-
an interview, but we did
That's
learn
what we
a
did the
lot.
last time.
Well.
We learned a lot from eating lunch with the candidate last.
And we need to
when we
let
did
Joe
the
know when,
engineer.
because he's by.
But
On the county's credit, on Chris's credit card.
No, yeah.
no,
You
we
can
paid
use
for
your
our
board
own,
member.
remember?
So,
And it's,
so basically, so then I think that we need to look at that though, and we need to call it an interview with the board of supervisors. You're gonna act on our recommendation with a second interview.
And I suppose we could
By-
present to the interviewee.
Yeah, you really
This
need to say
committee,
that.
yeah.
You gotta say that to the potential
Yeah,
individual, that it's a second.
and when the
interview.
interviews are done, that would be said.
Yeah, so that's
But we
the
would have
verbiage I
always
need to
done
know
that.
moving
and it
forward.
doesn't have to be lunch, it can just be meat. and-
Second interview. That's really
Yeah.
what you need to tell them.
Yeah.
And that's just gonna be more to,
Yeah, so.
All right.
Okay, but I think we probably always would have done that.
if you think that's okay, I mean, I'm not fast on that, all I'm saying is we did,
I'm asking for
Learn a lot.
clarification to take it back to the committee.
Chris, that committee will screen down. And I guess we'll call it a first interview.
Yep.
Because if you're having a second, you have to call that a first.
Yep,
And so the second interview
is with the board. of
may
supervisors.
be something more casual.
I would say only if it's very close or something with your
You
candidates.
can't say that though, Dee.
Okay.
You gotta set the ground rules to start with. You can't say if it's and buts. You gotta set the ground rules. So this is what I need to take back to the committee.
Well, given
One interview by us, a screening process, and then an interview with the board.
There
now,
may or may not be a second interview.
yeah,
just-
I don't think we should because of the timeline. I think you guys will do a great job. I just wanted to clarify it because we hadn't at this meeting really talked about the process.
See, Chris, so we're clear.
So
Stay on
we're,
the same page. Okay,
Yes,
We're clear.
okay. All
We can
right.
still stay.
We don't have anything
We'll
set
let
up
you sit
yet
the big table.
with anyone.
I'm impressed you beat us.
They barely do.
Please don't. Okay, moving on, moving on.
When's my first interview?
When's your first interview?
I don't,
We're waiting for the application.
yeah, you're gonna give me your resume or give it to Susie. I'm so confused. Okay,
No,
thanks.
no, it's,
Why would
it's
it be
clear.
I'm good now.
just continue
good.
as is, and thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
know the group is doing an excellent job.
That's a very important step in this process.
Okay, moving on the budget, so we can get done today. Discuss, yeah, checks in the mail. Discuss, consider transferring mental health vehicle to the sealed region.
Okay, I put that on there not to cause problems, although it probably would
It
cause
will.
problems. The fact of the matter is that we have non-county employees driving a county vehicle, and I'm concerned about the liability.
Okay.
As we should be.
associated with that.
We had that discussion about a year ago when all this happened. Seal
You'll have to
doesn't,
refresh us, Dee.
yeah, Seal doesn't own things, property or vehicles. So Ryan and Sandy sat here and guaranteed that if something happened, I would suggest calling Ryan.
I would suggest
But it
that we
would be
call our
covered.
insurance company,
Yeah,
Well, that's a good,
I
I
would
think
probably
we
do
did
that
at that
first.
time, but it's changed since then. So,
because to me, the reality of the situation is that so I give Connor
no, I
a
know.
county vehicle to drive, and Connor runs into Joe. Okay, you look at Connor, no disrespect, and you look at the county, where do you see the deep pockets?
No, I know, but that
Not
was,
Connor's pockets.
we did, cover-
Joe, you should have been
I
in the
think
way.
it's good to bring that
I'll
back
stay out
up,
of your
Lee,
drive.
because it is a different situation.
You're absolutely right, Dee, it is. And the question, as far as I'm concerned, as I see it, is if I'm not mistaken, that car was bought with Fund $10. And we no longer have a mental health program, or not program, a
Lee?
mental health department
And
in the county.
the other thing we can also do is say, we want that vehicle.
Yeah,
we could.
It's
Yeah.
just last year we didn't, so. I
and
would,
it's not to cause any problems for the region in terms of, I would vote to sign over the title to the region. I have no problem with that. I know they reimburse us for the insurance, but that's, to me, is not the issue. The issue is
Correct.
the liability associated with it.
I would recommend call Ryan and have that conversation with her. Please,
Okay,
I'm guessing,
I'll call the insurance company first.
good idea.
Please call the insurance company.
That would be Jefferson Doyle, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to consider anything here, is that correct? Make committee reports. Does anybody have any committees they
Yeah,
want to
that's
report
the
on?
last week, ISAC. However, with the length of the meeting, I'll save some of those learning nuggets till another day.
So we had Susie was present as well as Chris and everything. We had a follow-up on our tabletop shooter,
County preparedness, yeah.
right? And we had an in-depth discussion. I don't know that you didn't initial that.
I need to.
We had a good in-depth discussion, and I do believe that we will be moving forward with other partners and continuing this process in the next step in as far as the preparedness portion of it goes. Chris and I attended DCAT. We have yet to have any cats to DCAT, but it's there nonetheless, and what do we call it? The Child Abuse Prevention Month. Pinwheels and signs will be out and about,
And t-shirts.
and t-shirts. So it's something that we do every year that I think it's
Tammy will be
unfortunate we have way too many.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
Tammy's gonna bring a resolution to you
Okay.
guys to sign
Yeah,
for
for us
the
to-
proclamation, excuse me,
yeah.
proclamation for child abuse awareness.
And
Child
there's,
abuse prevention month.
and the key there is awareness. I don't think that any of us realize how much of that actually goes on, because it's usually behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
I have a friend right now that's, won't do that. Regional Utility Service Systems, Russ Board, really pretty straightforward. Bruce was out in a conference getting additional training. There was a lengthy discussion again regarding Ollie. I keep pushing, we have to move forward on Ollie, as difficult as it's going to be. It's not going to be pleasurable, but currently they're nearly $12,000 in arrears, and it cannot continue. So we have some difficult decisions moving forward regarding the process to help try to collect some of that.
Okay, the other thing on committee reports, we found out late Friday, and I learned it from a press release that we got the Destination Iowa grant for the conservation.
Yeah.
So when we have,
Let me know. Have you had any actual?
no, because Darren's name was on it because he was chair, but I contacted them Friday then via email, went to their website. I'll follow up with a call to say, hey, change that name on that, because I'm guessing it was sent to his mailbox.
Yeah, I had gotten a phone call from Darren telling me such, and I also called them.
So
So they probably think we really want the money. Two people called.
Congratulations,
I saw his release on it this morning. Congratulations.
that's awesome.
For those of you,
All of you, I'm just a part of it.
Now you're stuck.
well, and
don't be so humble, okay?
if anybody wants to know what it is, it's right here.
Yeah, and I would suggest, well, I'll be on the radio tomorrow, but that we kind of,
Ask tough questions.
Yeah,
If we
let's
get-
call in.
oh yeah,
And
contact with the right person. We're gonna have to make some plans
Mhm.
on how this is all gonna work.
Yeah.
And just to remind everybody, the county match out of ARPA funds is 440,000.
For those of you in the room and then on Zoom, County Conservation has gotten a grant to vastly improve their facilities.
Yeah, it'll be a new modern campground development that's probably gonna total $1 million or
Yeah.
so that we got.
Yeah.
450,000 from the state, which goes with the local match, and then we have our own little
Sure.
portion of that, and I think it'll take a couple of years before it's open and available, and that this is just like the first phase of a big master plan that we have done for that property to the east of Jefferson County Park.
Yeah.
But this will really help.
But this will definitely jumpstart, because otherwise we were saving our revenue, and it would
Yeah.
have taken many years to bring in this kind of money otherwise.
That's fine.
Yeah, there'll be more information as I know it and you
Sure,
know it, that'll come out in the next
Sure.
few weeks, I'm sure.
Sean, tell your staff. Thank you. Because it can be quite a process the next 2 years.
Yeah, well, I'm currently looking for a fourth employee, if you haven't heard that as well.
I saw that.
Put that little ad out there,
Full time.
yes. We lost an employee in early February. No, that's the one that left.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you much.
Thank you. Yep.
With all the trees. Okay.
So now we're to public comments. If anybody would like to say things, we'll give you 1 minute. Chris.
I don't think I have.
Does anybody want to say anything?
I do.
Yes.
So
And
I'm
your name is?
Margaret Dwyer. I'm speaking on my own behalf as an individual.
I
First, I
wondered
want
who
to thank
she
the
was.
supervisors. What?
I wondered who she was sitting there.
Oh,
I want to thank you all for giving Diane a chance to talk about the moratorium. It's an issue that just doesn't go away. And I want to say that not all CAFO owners are the same. Some do a really great job of mitigating and they plant trees and they do all kinds of good stuff. But not all do. And doing a better job, I think, is what we're looking for. We're looking, the idea of the moratorium is to make doing a better job mandatory rather than optional. And also to maybe move the state back in the direction of some local control, which seems to be draining away gradually. So that's all I have. And just the legislative appetite, it's going to take a long time, we understand, to stimulate that, but that's part of the plan. So thanks for your time on that topic.
thanks for your comments, Margaret. Anybody else? Yes.
My
I'm
name
just-
is Jane Manson.
Hi, Jane.
I've been retired for 3 years, but I was a certified pediatric nurse practitioner. And I think I kind of felt like Lee with this issue of CAFOs. You know, I took my kids swimming to Lake Darling. Now it's not recommended to swim. I shouldn't take my grandkids. But, you know, that's a health issue. Now don't take your kids swimming in Lake Darling. But what triggered me was the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is as mainstream as you can get for children's health. That sets standards for children's health throughout our country, and I think throughout the world too. They had an article, and it was so well referenced, and it was about how the CAFOs are contributing to MRSA infection, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus infections. And because of the amount of antibiotics that need to be given, you know, to that livestock in those enclosed areas, and how kids and adults, and when they try, and they're mainstream antibiotics, that should be the first line that you would prescribe, but people are resistant to them. So that changed my mind. I don't think JFAN claims me as a member, but I'm with them in spirit. And you know, in conclusion, this issue is not about any of us. You know, it's about our children. You know, it's about the world that our children are going to inherit. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I'm going to say something. When you plant a tree, you don't ever plant for yourself. You plant it
Yeah.
to be in the shade for somebody 100 years from now.
Hi, Ann Walton. I again want to speak to the CAFO issue. And just to bring about a further clarity on it, a moratorium is not a ban. A moratorium is a temporary stay until certain standards are met. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. We've learned what some of the impacts are from CAFOs. And we need to understand how to do this better. Just as with other agricultural practices, we've learned better ways to practice agriculture, and we need to look at CAFOs and understand what are the impacts on water quality, what are the impacts on air quality, what are the impacts on human. And once we understand that, maybe we can find ways to do this. So it's not a ban by any means whatsoever. It's a temporary stay until we understand what these impacts are and some thresholds are met. So I think you have to look at that as this is just a way to bring about better practices for CAFOs.
Thank you.
View it as that and not as a change to what I was going to be all about, which is agriculture.
Any other public comments? Diane,
Yeah,
1 minute.
James said, so there's a study that was done, I forget which place, you have 3 times higher chance of carrying MRSA if you live within a mile of a large CAFO, 2,500 hogs or more. And another study done up in University of Iowa found that 11% of the people there that had MRSA were living within right next to fields that were receiving manure. So the MRSA issues are really big. We use so many of our antibiotics. And I just want to end with, would you put on the agenda the next week or so, an agenda point to discuss having and to discuss and set having a public hearing?
My turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
On this ambulance hiring, I think before they make the final decision, all the supervisors should meet with the candidate just to get a friendly, if it's just to meet for 5 or 10 minutes so you know who it is before they come in and you hire them. Maybe I'm wrong on that, Chris. You want to kick me? I can see that.
No,
No,
no, that's, I honestly.
You don't go out and hire somebody without seeing them and talking to them just a little bit to get a feel.
Joe, what made you think we weren't gonna do that? Because that's what's gonna happen.
They will get, you will all get to meet with them then,
Yeah, that
correct?
was what the
Okay, just
second meeting was.
clarification then. All right.
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that, it was never the intent to, we
Oh.
don't have the autonomy to hire somebody,
No.
that's these guys.
Okay.
That's what the second meeting that they might not have is supposed to.
No, they're gonna have a
Okay.
second meeting, we have to
Should
say
ask
that.
for
They're-
clarification.
No, you're totally fine.
Here by me.
We're in public comment.
I appreciate the
Connor,
conversation.
Connor, just how deep are your pockets? Not very, depending on the day.
Connor works for the radio.
And I got something else too, Susan.
Okay,
Everybody's talking about Lake Darling and impaired waters. We have spent millions of dollars over there working on conservation above to control runoff and stuff.
Yeah.
And now the big problem is the wild geese coming in when they have to go and harrow the beaches to get rid of the goose droppings. And it's more wildlife that's causing the problem now than it is agriculture. So I just wanted that clarification.
thank you,
And you
Joe.
couple that with low water and hot temperatures, and it
Yes.
exacerbates the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one example.
And if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I am, it would be the first time, hush, even today. We use less antibiotics today on our hogs in those barns than we've ever used before because of the practices that our agricultural partners have put in place for that specific reason, to lower the cost, plus exactly what you're talking about. And that's why even the farmer who owns the barn and has more than one, when he or she leaves that barn, they completely clean up before they go into the second barn for that very reason. So there's less antibiotics used than ever before, both in terms of the health and in terms of the cost factor associated with that.
Can you find documentation on that?
Sure, ask the farmer.
Okay.
You know, I would say that almost, whether it's a doctor or a farmer, in my case, we've not given an antibiotic shot for probably a year. Because it builds up to, if you don't have to, you don't. You've got to help them build the resistance up.
Well, there's so many rules and regulations put that
Yeah.
we can go out and buy cold medicine over the counter. A lot of stuff we can buy over the counter. In the livestock industry, we have to have a veterinary prescription to even buy them simple drugs anymore. And they've gotten so expensive that you don't use them unless you absolutely have to.
Right.
Thank you.
Just add one more thing to we just said, Lee. That was true about the antibiotic use going down. But I'll send you the link. A new report just came out that shows that antibiotic use is starting to go up again. in livestock production.
I've always believed, and I'm going to create a firestorm here, but that's okay. I've always believed that anybody can produce a report. I don't mean you personally. I just mean that anybody who has a dog in the hunt can make an argument that benefits their particular position on any given subject matter. And you have to take a lot of that with, I don't want to say a grain of salt, but I think that I remember when we had the conversation about Heartland Co-op, and there was a gentleman that wanted to have an environmental impact study done. And I asked the gentleman who was going to provide the scientist. And he said, well, they had scientists that he knew. And I go, yeah, and Heartland Co-op isn't going to accept your scientist. And you're not going to accept Heartland Co-op scientists because they're going to come up with I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, the answer that you want that you want them to come up with.
Control.
So all I'm saying is that We just have to be careful on what we throw out there. And like the information that you provided, Diane, that information is 5 years old. So it can't be accurate information based on what you're telling me. It's 5-year-old information. And so these things, these numbers were presented back in 2017. And I'm not saying they're not valid numbers, but what am I supposed to make of that in terms of it's not 2022? And if we had numbers for 2022, I would assume you would have provided them in terms of documentation. I don't have the same concerns, obviously, Diane, that you do. I think we're very, very diligent when we do our scoring of our master matrix. And evidence of that is that we've never been overturned by the DNR, at least since I've been involved in it. And since Dee's been involved in it. And we've had a half a dozen or so that have come before us, and you've been a participant in those. And I've always said, and I still firmly believe this, doing something like this is like spitting into the wind. You have to be at the legislative level to make the change. The change is not going to occur at the county level. And the notion, for example, that everybody's always talked about, at least around here, is local control, something that you're never going to have because you can't have 99 different laws. It will not work. So the state is the one that's going to have to determine what that looks like. And the state is very good at determining what things are going to look like in the county. And this year's legislative session is a perfect example of that. And so my recommendation would be to take your argument to the state level, enforce like you came here, to see what changes could possibly be made up there, if any. Most of these letters that they write that go to the legislators will end up in their file 13. They'll never even look at it. It just won't. If they had, like I said earlier, if they had the appetite to make the change, if there was, I mean, how many years have we had the master matrix in place? And I've said it over and over and over again. For the county to do the scoring it is really, it doesn't have any bearing other than maybe giving some people a feel good, because the DNR is the final arbiter, irregardless of what we decide. Irregardless of what we decide, the DNR is the final arbiter. And until that circumstance changes, there isn't any reason to have the conversation.
You know, I know this is public comments and I shouldn't be here talking about this. I shouldn't do that. But we have an opportunity this Saturday. There's a legislative forum at the Civic Center, starts at 7:30. And it is expected 3 elected officials will be there. That would be nice for you to present your concerns there. Okay.
I've done that. I continue to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Susie, I do have one thing.
Yeah. 30 seconds.
Okay, I just want to remind you, well, first I want to say thank you to everybody that came to the emergency preparedness meeting the other day. I appreciate the input of the elected officials and everybody working together and moving forward. So on behalf of Brett and Stacy, and I thank you for that. The other thing is just to remind you guys that we have our alcohol and tobacco free coalition today, Zoom at noon. So
Elizabeth come through there?
I don't think so. She didn't start yet. I don't think. Yeah, she didn't start yet. So I think what we're gonna do, just so you guys know, is we'll meet March, April, May, and then we're gonna take a hiatus until September. So Elizabeth can kind of get her bearings, and she probably doesn't even know about this committee. No, she does. Pat probably said it, but with school being on break and stuff, we're just gonna take the summer off. I'm gonna make that recommendation today at the meeting. So that's all. Thanks.
That was good. She got 30 seconds.
That was good. 29 seconds. What?
I'd like to make a public comment.
Sure.
I'm our commissioner. I'd like to urge the consideration of putting a open meeting on the agenda. It may seem like a gust in the wind to make a presentation to the legislature about it, but I think the fact you have 25 counties, you add one more county, it just indicates a tendency there. I just want to mention that Minnesota produces just about as many hogs as Iowa. Minnesota has some regulations. They have the ability to bring in hydrogen sulfide meters from the EPA, and those meters will read the hydrogen sulfide levels at the county road, the nearest public road to a CAPO. If they're in violation of the hydrogen sulfide limit, by Jove, Minnesota knows how to take care of it. So I think there are examples that people could be made aware of how CAPOs can be managed and how hogs can be raised in ways that do not just cause detriment to the neighbors.
Again, I'll say, I think it's time to have a little bit of a public hearing so every resident of the county can listen and hear. Okay,
That's great.
okay.
I just.
All right, one more, but then public comments close.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
But
okay.
one, that's it.
Really, you know, I'm happy what you said about lowering, you know, low everything on these, but please show me the data. You know, I feel like we need data. Please show me the data on that. And I would appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And thanks for coming, you guys. Anybody online want to say anything?
I don't see anybody in the meeting.
Did they leave?
What left?
They got bored?
No, there's people in there,
Breakfast.
but they're not in meetings.
Okay,
Sure you shut it off this time.
don't worry. Next item on the agenda is to allow claims and approve reports.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dimmitt, second by Sandquist to approve the claims. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
You want to sign two of these?
Motion,
Sure.
motion
One
to
for Paul and
adjourn.
one for-
Motion to adjourn the session
To our
to go to our budget work session. By Dimmitt, second by somebody.
Me.
Sandquist, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.